you for such a warm welcoming, and welcome all of you here today. I want to take you on a short journey into the future. So let me begin with a necessary health warning from Niels Bohr, a Danish Nobel Award-winning physicist of the last century who said, "Predictions are difficult, but especially if they're about the future." Nevertheless, I will take an attempt to paint a picture of this future for you and the possibilities it holds for all of us. The times in which we are living are truly extraordinary. The truth is, none of us have the idea of how fast the world around us is changing. And the perspective of this future, as much as it is impressive, it is also slightly terrifying and startling, in the sense that the responsibility for this future lays on our shoulders. It is our decisions that guide its development. Business, as an ever-present companion of humanity, is forever changing, always adapting to new technologies, social changes and trends. The famous entrepreneur and writer Peter Diamandis, in one of his most recent speeches, mentioned, "The change in the next 10 years will be incomparably greater to the one of the last 100. I believe that this quote applies to all areas of our life, including business. The change we're about to witness in the next 10 years is indeed immense, however not solely driven by innovation and human creativity as one might expect. There are some significant challenges which we'll need to embrace, deal with, and take advantage of as a society. Firstly, let me introduce you to 4 possible worlds of business in the future that can arise. These color-coded models, which I'm about to present to you, are based on a thorough data analysis carried out by some of the world's top analytical firms. Some of these scenarios project a major shift away from the big corporations that drive our economy now, with smaller businesses taking the lead by the use of technology, while others of these scenarios present a highly contrasting outline. The first one is the red world, where innovation thrives. The red world is a result of the rising distrust of youth towards the grand corporations. Here, the smaller companies will succeed. It is a high-tech, efficient state where the currency is innovative talent. HR will mostly cease to exist as a separate function, as entrepreneurs will rely on outsourced services for people processes. It is a business world driven by a fierce competition for talent, where those with in-demand future skills will earn the highest rewards. And their success is enabled by the prosperity of digital platforms and technology, which allow for the prosperity of specialists and niche profit markers. Businesses innovate to create personalization and to serve these niches more efficiently. It is a race of ideas, where the winner satisfies the consumer's desires to the fullest. And this shift is enabled, and this shift to this rapidly changing world can be seen even nowadays. Young minds fuel the workforce with new ideas, with a fresh mindset. Nowadays, it is teenagers, as well as young adults, who develop and sell apps, businesses, trade cryptocurrencies, not only the adults with the years of experience and multiple college degrees. And I see this in my life when I look at my younger brother, who at a mere age of 14 is now programming an app with his friends and is looking forward to selling it. And I realized that recently when I talked with my friend from Poland, who is now 18, and who called me to say that she just launched her NGO to enable less fortunate of the people in Poland who during the pandemic weren't enabled to have an education because they are educated publicly, to be educated by youth, by people their age who, due to the prosperity of their families, were unable to have a private education and thus continue their education during the pandemic. And her idea not only benefits youth, it also allows youth to solve their problems, to contribute their ideas to the problems that concern them personally. But in a world where ideas rule and innovation outpaces regulation, the risks are high. Today's winning business could be tomorrow's court case. Furthermore, this rapidly changing world results in a lack of loyalty from the company towards the worker. Workers with skills in demand will prosper, while those with outdated skills will simply be abandoned and removed. The second scenario outlined by these predictions is the blue world, where corporations flourish. Here, capitalism remains the king, as corporations see their size and influence as a source of power and thus stability in a highly competitive environment. Global corporations will become larger, more prosperative, bigger, and more powerful than ever. But here as well, there is a focus on extreme talent. Extreme talent is fiercely fought over, as the corporate world divides society into those who have it and those who simply don't. Corporations can even be more powerful than some nations. And the preference of these who thrive is more important than the long-term goals of the future. And we can see this transition even in the modern world too. From the pharmaceutical corporations, which are pulling the world out of the depths of the pandemic, to the recent withdrawal of Western companies from Russia as a tool of war. Business has never had a greater impact on our lives. Maybe this allows for a reinvention of our usually critical views towards these grand corporations, as smaller companies simply do not hold the power to cease conflict peacefully. It is a question of ethics. And although, as one can imagine, in this cruel reality of the blue world, when either is a millionaire or has the lowest possible wage, perhaps the corporate capitalist world is not as bad as we would like to see it. The third possibility is the green world, one which puts an emphasis on ethical environmental values. Sustainability, social awareness, and green initiatives. While they became a part of the public debate long ago, we can see them becoming a crucial part of business strategies in the future. This will lead to major changes in organizations, as organizations will simply need to reinvent their strategies. In order to gain competitive advantage, the companies of the future will need to realize that their growth cannot be simply based on sales figures. A successful company will need to consider its environmental, social, and economic footprint. And this may appear to you to be an impossible, perhaps too optimistic of an idea. However, in the future world where resources are lacking, it becomes more realistic. The increasing scarcity of resources will further push governments to implement laws which control which control the competition over these goods. The shift of strategy will further be a reaction of the rising social awareness, which will become more aware of the corporate greenwashing and thus become more critical of it. Sustainable growth will thus be encouraged and recognized. An authentic brand image will become a necessity. And this changing focus of values can already be seen. During the recent pandemic, companies have been faced with multiple pressing environmental, social, and governing issues. This also provided the authenticity and coherence of an organization to be seen as a source of competitive advantage and resilience in these very critical times, just like the pandemic. Pursuing these goals, which has long been considered a good thing for a company to do, is soon to become more of an economic necessity rather than just a beneficial option. As companies rebuild after the pandemic, there's opportunity and place for big improvements in the areas of diversity, inclusion, and treatment of other employees. Just a short time ago, when I went back home for winter break, I had some time to spare. And thus, as I wanted to keep up with my mother, who I haven't seen for a long time, I began accompanying her to work more often. And it was Christmas time, and so I quickly noticed that this year, unlike all the previous years, there were no wine bottles and tiny bags packed as gifts for customers for Christmas. And so I asked my mother, who has been in business for 25 years, what is the reason for this sudden change? And it turned out that the company, the corporations she works for, carried out a massive research, first by the clients as well as the workers. And it turned out that these little meaningless gifts, which probably the customers quickly forget about, actually have a significant environmental and social impact. And my mom further explained to me that this initiative was motivated by workers as well as employees. And it was not only motivated in that field. They further conducted an inquiry of the carbon footprint of the plane flights provided by the company for international meetings, as well as fuel usage of the company's cars, and the plastic waste and the paper waste that the company has at its headquarters. And it was needed because clients nowadays verified the background when choosing an advisor. And what came as a shock to me, it was also needed because employees expected their company to be authentic and present coherent values that they initially agreed to. And if this was not enough for me to convince you about the possibilities of this green world, think about the rising unemployment after the pandemic. Technological advancement does bring many opportunities, but it also leads to a reduction in human jobs, mainly easily replaceable manual tasks. Looking at this, we simply need a job recovery, and a sustainable approach is actually able to provide it. According to data collected by McKinsey, for every 10 million spent in sustainable energy, 75 job places are created. And for every $10 million spent on efficient energy, 77 job places are created. In contrast, according to the same research, $10 million spent on fossil fuels and the development of non-renewable energy resources results in only the creation of 25 job places. The popular idea of a trade-off between business and environment is actually pretty false. This green recovery is essential for future business growth. To summarize, in this green world, companies care, because trust is the basic currency underpinning the growth of business. The fourth and last comes the idea of a yellow world. Here the human, come first. This is a world of business where humanness is of the highest value, a vision completely opposite to the corporate reality of the blue world. Both workers, as well as corporations, seek a greater meaning and a greater purpose to their actions, and most often they find them in the needs of the society. The advances of telecommunications in this world make the job geographically neutral and enable the workers to seek greater flexibility, fulfillment, and autonomy in their job as they work in these highly ethical organizations. Technology also plays an important role as it enables small companies to compete in areas previously completely dominated by grand corporations. And as AI takes on repetitive and dangerous tasks, furthermore, like-minded individuals are able to unite and be more productive and collaborate in order for the benefit of the world. In this world, consumers also focus on the approach of these organizations and are more likely to buy from ethical, transparent brands. Now you may ask yourself for what reason I have just outlined this highly technical concepts. Where is your benefit? And it is key to understand that these businesses world I just presented aren't going to be strictly the future. It's going to be probably a spectrum, a coherent fusion of these ideas. And although it may be difficult to say with certainty which one will dominate, it's possible to identify trends and start preparing for this future now. If you take a closer look at these possible scenarios, you realize most of them depend highly on technological advances, and they seem to forget the human factor in the process. Yes, it is true, the world of the future will be incredibly fast, digitized, and interconnected. But this focus on the prosperity of digitization and the acceleration growth of technology will result in the underdevelopment of our generation's soft skills. Technological progress poses many unknown before problems, and as more opinions, urges, and stimuli lead to a further undecisiveness also of our generation. This growing indecisiveness creates a challenge for many entrepreneurs who are unable to identify their goal as a demand will simply fail at delivery. In the age of an accelerating digital transformation, it will be key to obtain and develop a great data analyzing skill set, as this enables for a quick reaction to the changing environment and customer behavior. While every successful business needs an idea to start with, and a visionary mind behind it, whether creative or based on thorough analysis of the market, the one who develops it and perceives its success completely varies. Take a look at the great benefits of the last 2 decades have brought us by rapidly developing the digital world. When one looks back on Amazon, Google, all these great companies, one can say their success is based on creating a need rather than satisfying an existing one. And these companies will continue to thrive with this strategy. And with this strategy, new companies just like them will continue to grow and be created, and they will prosper. Seeing the need for transparency in both the presented green as well as yellow worlds, data collection procedures will be more regulated and ethical as a response to the even greater presence of technology in our lives and work. The leadership style will probably undergo a radical change as well, In uncertain times, skills as emotional intelligence and empathy are desired. This will lead to an increase of women in management roles, as they're trained and expected by society to be more empathetic. Due to the pandemic, there has been a huge change from a focus of a leader on what a business does to how a business actually does it. And the shift of these leadership capabilities will continue to change toward embracing empathy and demonstrating leadership in its full sense, rather than just a focus on intellectual, academic, and visionary-focused leadership, which has been so popular over the last few decades. And the way we work will be inherently different from what we're used to today. It will be more project-focused, therefore constant self-development, upskilling, and lifelong skills will be more desired. In 2032, I'll be 27 years old, a fresh mind in the beginning of my professional career. And we may know with certainty what the future holds for us, but it is certainly possible to start preparing for it today. So I stand here today to tell you, yes, go get that degree, educate yourself, but do not forget that this goal you're setting for yourself is the goal of thousands, if not hundreds of millions minds just like you. And the greatest of us don't waste time for staring at the tips of their shoes. They look straight ahead into the future, when no one yet dares to gaze. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.